Hello, I am back today with something a little bit different. Usually I do videos of stamping plates, as you probably know. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the different kinds of stampers that are out there and which ones I use and why. For some of the differences in these stampers, it's good to be able to see how they move, so I thought that I would do a video in addition to just a regular blog post about them. Okay, so these are the four basic kinds of stampers that I use. And I think that they pretty much represent the different choices that are out there. I use all of these different stampers for different things, and I wouldn't want to be without any of them. There are two main differences in these kinds of stampers. One is the size of the image that you can pick up, and the other is the flexibility in how you apply. So in terms of size, obviously, you've got your smaller stampers here, about the same size. This one's a little tiny bit smaller. This is more of an XL stamper, and this is a huge XXXXL. XXXXXXXXL. This is your standard Konad stamper. This is actually Konad. This was the stamper I started with, and I still love it for many, many things. This I got from Cece and Sissy. I think I'm saying that right. Sissy and Sissy. And it is, this one is a very hard, this is the least giving of the stampers. It's got the hardest kind of surface. This is a little bit more giving. This I got on eBay. You can, they're all over the place. You can find them in a lot of different places that sell stamps, or even just on eBay. And this one has more give. This is more of the squishy stamper that people are talking about. And I'm going to come back to that. And then this is a Creative Shop stamper. I got this one at Beautometry.com. I'll put the link down below for that. And this is possibly the squishiest stamper, and of course, again, it's the biggest stamper. So, what is the best stamper? I think what the best stamper is going to depend on what you want to do with it. I think most of us, if we had to pick, like if you put a gun to our head and you said you could only have one stamper, which one's it going to be? Most of us would pick a bigger one so that we could have pick up bigger images and be able to do anything we want, like with painting decals, that kind of thing. And also a squishy stamper, I think, gives a lot of versatility. So there are pluses and minuses to each of these stampers. I think for certain kinds of stamping, you can get more control with the Konad stamper when it comes to lining up placement of certain kinds of images. I think with the squishier stampers, you can get you can do a better job of making sure that you get full coverage because you can stamp your full nail in. On the downside of a squishy stamper, one of the downsides is, and I'm not sure if you can see it here, my squishy stampers pick up my cat hairs and my dog hairs like crazy. So one of the things, though, I found that they're super easy to clean with just a piece of tape. So let me get it where you can see that, and then you just put that tape on there, and boom, gone. When I first got this stamper, I cleaned it with acetone. So if you like cleaning with acetone, don't worry about it. I mean, I've used acetone on this so much that if it was going to do something horrible to it, it would have, and it hasn't. But if you're worried about that, use the tape. The tape will pick up little bits of stamping that's left over too. Super easy. Another downside of most of these super squishy stampers is people find that, you know, you do your scrape, you do your and then a couple of things happen. If you've got this lined up, it'll start going in so that it doesn't feel like you have a lot of give and take. You do, but it feels different. It feels a little bit weird. If you don't have it lined up, it will pop out after, you know, a time or two. And either way, you know, that gets annoying for a lot of people. It doesn't bother me too much, but if it bugs you, that's something, you know, that you want to look out for. That is one of the benefits of this Creative Shop stamper, is that this is actually a lot bigger than the opening. I think you can see that. So once you put it in, it stays in pretty firmly. And you don't have to worry about, you know, you can stamp a billion trillion times, and you're still going to have plenty of surface area. It's not going to disappear in, it's not going to pop out. Another thing that people really like about this, and that I really like about this, is that it's very ergonomic. It feels good in your hand, the way it's not too large, but at the same time it's big enough to pick up on. Another problem with this squishy stamper that people really like with this stamper, it has a translucent head. So like if I put white on there, you can see that white, no problem. You can see any color. Whereas if I put white on here, it's a little bit harder to see it. You can see it, but when it's a stamped image and it's not so solid, it gets to be a little bit more difficult to see. Being able to have that clear contrast with the white polish especially is very useful for a lot of people, so they like that too. Okay, so let me show you for each of these how you're going to want to use it, because the way you use the stamper with the plate is going to be different, and that's going to determine your success. So my favorite way of using this Konad stamper is I like to stamp up and down. So I'm going to be stamping up and down like this, and then roll over my nail like that. One of the reasons why I still like to have this is, let's say I wanted to get this little flower and I wanted to get it very precisely, right under this stripe. I can line up, and because this stamper head doesn't have a lot of give, I can get really close to where the edge of my design is on here and know exactly where I'm putting it before I roll it over. And I like that because the surface is a little bit harder, it gives me that little bit more control with it. As a curvy nail girl though, one of the problems that I tend to have with this, if I'm not super careful, is rolling all the way over and pressing down hard enough to make sure I get even that little edge of my nail there. Now, my nails are pretty strong, so I can push into this and I don't have too much of a problem. But if you have more flexible nails than I do, that starts to either get really painful or you're going to break your nail. So that's where this starts to become a problem if you want to make sure you're getting absolute full coverage over every aspect of that nail. That's where your squishy stampers come in. This, it's a little bit squishier than the Konad. So if you want to place things properly and you want to get a little bit more of the control without having to worry about accidentally touching it too far and getting your image applying too early, this is a good compromise. Okay. If you want, let's say you want to get this entire image right here. Well, first of all, you're not going to want to take a super squishy stamper like this and stamp directly down like I did with the harder one. You're going to get images that don't pick up. It's going to drive you crazy. You're going to try to figure out what the heck you're doing wrong. This, you want to do exactly the opposite of what you did with the Konad, with the harder scrapers. You want to roll this on. Some people do that already with the Konad. I never have. And then you want to stamp this straight on your nail. So you're going to be coming straight down on your nail, rolling on the image, straight down on your nail. And the beautiful part of this is, let's say I want to get full coverage on this nail, okay? See, I got these super curvy nails. Well, all I got to do is go boop, and see, the stamp comes around my curvy nails. And importantly, I don't want it to warp. So a lot of times with this, if I'm trying to do it, to stamp it over or to stamp it directly down, I'm going to get warping. With this, you push it directly in and you're not going to get that warping. And so that's awesome. This can also help with certain placement issues. So on these nail wraps right here, I have stripes going down. Now, you know, if you want to get stripes on your nails and you're stamping like that, you're going to get warped. They're going to be like all kinds of wonky. One solution is to stamp downwards like that, and that works really well. But an easier way is to just have it lined up on your stamp and then place your nail right where you want those stripes to be, and you're not going to get any movement, and it's going to cave right in around your nail, and you're going to get those stripes put just where you want to. There is still a little bit of a learning curve to making sure that you're not, you know, pressing too far on one end or the other, but it's a heck of a lot easier to master than, you know, trying to get it with the other. Another great thing that I find these are really easy for are French tip images. So let's say I wanted, you know, this is stamped. We're going to pretend that this is a stamped French image, and it's the way it's supposed to look. Let's just pretend. And I want to turn that into a French manicure. I can take my nail and I can put it exactly where I want it to be for that French tip and get a beautiful French tip. Obviously this is a little bit janky, but you can see what I mean. I can get the line where I want it to be without too much of a problem. And that is almost, I mean, it's really tricky to do with this because you can't press down exactly, and when you're trying to roll it, you're always going to get some warping with French tips. They're really, really tough that way. So that's another benefit of the big stamper. Plus, now I get one more opportunity to show you, pull off those hairs and pull off that extra to see how exactly easy these are to clean. And then the last thing I want to mention about these is that you may have heard about shrinking images. So when you, let's say that you love this image here, but you know, you want at least the circle part all completely on your nail. You don't want it to just be partial. So you can do a technique where you take your stamper head out. So you're stretching it as far back and as evenly as you can. I do it with several nails, at least 3, to get as much even surface tension as I can, as opposed to like this where I'm just stretching it this way and not this way, and you're going to get it all warped. So you stretch it back, and then you've got your polish all scraped, you stamp it, and then when you release it, it gets small again. That's the benefit, another benefit of these squishy type stampers, is that you can remove the head and you can do that with it, which obviously you can't. Even if you could remove this head, you're not going to be able to have that flexibility. I think if you put a gun to my head and told me I could only have one stamper for the rest of my life, I would probably take this one. I like this one. It feels good in your hand. You get a lot of control. I can do huge. So like if I wanted to do this entire flower here, and I wanted to have one half of it on one of my nails and another half on the other, and I could stamp it on here, then decorate it the way I wanted to decorate it using that advanced technique, and then use half of it to make a decal for one nail and half of it to make a decal for another nail. So the large surface area there gives you a lot of flexibility, and I really like that. But I would hope that I would never be in that position, because I think this, to sum up, is really good for small placements, making sure that you get them just right. And I do still find certain things like stripes to be a little bit easier in some instances with this. So I do like the flexibility of having more than one type. And one of the things I found is if I am making decals or doing that advanced technique, it is nice to have multiple stampers so that I can be decorating 4 different nails at once instead of doing one nail, putting it on, doing another nail, waiting for it to dry, putting it on. So there you go. There's my take on the different kinds of stampers, how to use them, and what the pluses and minuses are. I will have my sources linked down below, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for watching.